Hey Matthew, I just wanted to thank you for taking your time out and conducting this interview. I'm going to begin by asking you, where do you work?
So I'm currently employed by GameStop Corporation. The company's headquarters are located in Grapevine, Texas. My location was in Northridge, California. It was actually inside of the Northridge Mall.
Okay. So how did you get your job?
Well, I initially I applied to my local GameStop, and the way the recruitment is oriented around is more of group analyzation and just sort of asking certain questions in order to filter out candidates and whatnot. So essentially, what occurred is three managers from three different stores. They all ask us different questions, and also like give us certain tasks and certain situations to deal with. And aside from the personal questions, we had like a group-oriented like conundrum where let's say like, if I recall, it was like we made a certain amount in 2014 Black Friday shopping or Christmas sales, whatever it be, and then how can we improve that and build on that and maximize efficiency in 2015, and how would you go about it? So, and then they walked out of the room, and then there was like hidden cameras that we didn't know about, and essentially they were just keeping an eye on us with the cameras, and I took the initiative of sort of laying a foundation and principles to sort of abide by in order to like build a structure where we could actually, first of all, what items were not successful, how could we maybe replace those items, or maybe how could we improve on how those items were maybe advertised. Maybe they were just, there's so many different factors, but I basically compiled a list and then sort of assigned each person a different role throughout the group to sort of maximize in a specific branch of the industry.
So what do you do in your job, in your day-to-day activities at GameStop?
So essentially, it's mainly it is retail, and it's a high volume store because of the environment of you're in a mall. There's a lot of people. It's really really high paced. You have to really really be able to work well in a situation where you might not have all the knowledge and information adequately enough to actually answer the consumer's question. So parents come in all the time. Hey, what's that game for the Xbox? Oh, which Xbox? Which game? There's like a million games, So there's just so many broad questions where you have to like sort of deduce what they actually want, or maybe be able to recommend an alternative, which is most of the time the situation because a lot of older people don't really know. They're just trying to find something suitable. So you have to know the industry, and then you have to be able to have really good interaction and social skills, and you also have to be able to work a register fairly well. And then there's a bunch of different, after you initiate a transaction through the register, you've secured the game, and then that's where you have to maximize profit for the company by adding on additional sorts of, let's say insurance for the game. Let's say maybe want to be a member, you want to maybe enlist for a credit card. There's so many they want you to basically pitch everything, and you're expected to sort of always be able to offer everything. So at least try to maximize efficiency in that sense, because that's where the company's making the most money.
Okay. Now, do you like your job?
To be honest, it's not really that rewarding in the sense of you feel a bit marginalized. You sort of you work rigorously, and you really are like pressured heavily by your employers, because it's imagine like your performance, ordinarily, like let's say like you're working really well, you're gonna get a lot of hours, right? You're gonna give your best employees the most hours, and sometimes certain days numbers are gonna be coming in better. It's all circumstantial. There's components that are out of your control, so and especially whenever considering the company only likes to hire like minimal like employees within the store. So let's say like within the store, they want to have maybe a manager that's full-time, 2 or 3 of them, and then they take up majority of the hours. So like, let's say like 60 to 70% of all the store's hours are taken up by the managers.
So my follow-up question is your pay and working conditions fair? What could be better? So maybe you can answer that question within this question.
They definitely coincide. So yes, they could definitely be improved. Maybe just the utilization of a tip system of some sort. A tip jar itself. It's this really simple thing, but you'd be really surprised. It's a huge difference. I mean, you feel like you make a company a lot of money, but at the end of the day, like they don't really care about you. It's just sort of you feel sort of like a pawn in the industry of just like in the larger scheme of things, you're fueling their profit, but you're being rewarded minimally. You don't even get benefits unless you're like, full time, obviously, but like, they really don't give you anything. Like, and they expect you to sort of, you're highly pressured to sort of, let's say like me personally, ethically, I see a father or a mother who's struggling financially, or like a grandparent that's just trying to find something for their child, and like they have a budget, that's a constraint obviously you have to work with, and like you sort of need to have a bit of understanding of the consumer, but not just in the sense of business, and that's where ethics get involved, and it's a bit difficult because if you don't maximize the efficiency by reaping the most money out of this person, you're gonna get your hours cut, so it's gonna hurt yourself. But then at the same time, you're gonna feel like a bad person because you're trying to take as much money out of a genuine human being for no reason. Whenever you know their situation, and you could definitely prevent them and actually help them, rather than scam them like that. Well, not scam, but just sort of because a lot of them, they don't know what they're buying. They just want to make their kid happy and just need to spend whatever they can, but they don't want to spend too much. So it's really interesting. It's a lot of like sort of it's very psychological in the sense of the impact you have on their perspective of the entire situation and how they perceive all the information you're giving to them can really sort of make or break their experience, and then sort of establish in the long run a relationship. So it's, let's say like, I'm not gonna try to sell this consumer all these different items, but I'm gonna give him the best solution and just give him exactly what he wants. Yeah, true, I hurt the company by not maximizing efficiency, but long term, you're also gaining the trust of the client, and you build a relationship there, and they have a true experience. So they're gonna come back, they're gonna keep shopping. Yeah, in that moment, I could have maybe sold him all this extra stuff. He would have got frustrated. Oh, I didn't need this, I need that. I can't believe you did that. And then boom, what happens? We get, he's gonna tarnish our reputation because, like, I look like I'm a criminal. So I'm not a criminal, but like a scumbag, like the person who really sort of just tried to just maximize profit and had no regard.
The salesman.
Yeah, just a typical salesman. But like you want to also, So I think my approach is more along the lines of building an actual relationship.
So So besides, you say you might have felt like a pawn, but I'm sure there was lessons to be learned. So what would you say has been the best lesson you learned throughout your time at GameStop?
Well, you sort of, there's a lot of things that, even though I didn't, the job itself is not that, frankly, I don't like it, to be honest. But, at the end of the day, you always need to understand that, like, there's some sort of value or experience that is a benefit to you that you gain from any sort of situation.
Of course.
Any sort of work environment. And for me, I understand also like that what I value in myself and what I expect of myself, and like when I feel like I'm being undervalued, it's nice because it's sort of like a self-efficacy where you want to bring the best out of yourself, and like you're not going to settle for less. You want to really make it to the top. So it's good for building a work ethic and understanding the real principal value of money, because you're working really, really hard. Your hours get cut for no reason all of a sudden. It's not consistent. You're not really getting any recognition. It's really, 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 really good though, in the sense of like, I was able to adapt adequately to a system where like, I had no previous experience before, and I have that now. Like, I feel like I have the ability to sort of like, I could go up to anybody and talk to them about anything, and just sort of just keep a conversation flowing and establish some sort of common interest, build a relationship, with that person, and have that network available for me there. You know what I mean? Like, not in the sense of, I'm not gonna just go talk to people, just in the sense of just only trying to get benefits out of them, but like, it's nice to have that ability.
Yes.
In the sense of, the world itself and the way it operates. But I'm glad that I was able to sort of also build a lot better in the sense, like, the industry and how the scheme of corporations work and whatnot. You get a
have some understanding,
much clearer perspective on how it really works. It's two different viewpoints. It's crazy from the outside, from the consumer. As a worker, it's something else. And it was nice. I do like a lot of principles that I picked up.
So you definitely see yourself, moving past GameStop and looking into other ventures and other jobs?
Of course, yeah. It's just it's a temporary stepping stone. Just to feed the funds for a small expenses. And
Yep.
it's also good to always be employed. Build your resume,
Of course.
establish connections. We never know. I mean, yeah, I was a GA, which is a very entry position that really is not that promising long run. Internal hiring is not really common in this sort of field, especially with this company. So it's like you get the sense of like, okay, like I at least like understand how this industry works. So now I'm not going to waste my time with this industry because now I'm also I'm figuring out a clear path for myself just by really understanding. The more knowledge, the more experience you pick up in life in general is just more beneficial, I think, in every way.
So in that case, are your coworkers looking for other jobs, or are they happy at GameStop?
It's difficult to say because it really is circumstantial based on every individual's own situation, socioeconomically, and I mean, I had like two. I mean, I like a lot of my coworkers, and I don't know. It gets really interesting though when you're there for a long duration of time because as time progresses, let's say like one of my managers gets a promotion, which is nice because in itself, like I said, like usually rewarding. I mean, promotions within the company are not usually that frequent. So when that happens, it's nice. But then all of a sudden, you get a new manager brought in, and then if he doesn't like who his team is, he'll cut your hours. You'll get filtered out, flushed out of the system, and then all of a sudden you look around and it's a bunch of new people that this manager brought in. You have to be able to adapt to understanding what you're building relationships with new people all of a sudden. So it's interesting with coworkers. You have like a sense of like friendship, but also like at the end of the day, you understand your coworkers.
Yeah.
You're working at the same workplace. That's the main common interest and factor between relationships.
Of course.
And a lot of them, like my age, have kids. 20 years old having a kid. I mean, actually, a couple of them are actually younger. So it's just okay. Like, yeah, they want to go to school, but they got to pay for their kids' food, their future education. But then you tell them like, look, in the long run, this isn't promising. This is not going to be ideal if you want to give your child, a much more like comfortable life. You're gonna have to, acquire some sort of means of, progressing your future and just, establishing a field, a better career in a field that's more promising. You can't feed a family working at minimum wage, But then again, like at the same time, yeah, you're going to school, but that's also going to cost money. It's also going to cost time. That time, there's an opportunity cost for you working and making money in order to provide for your kids.
So let me stop you there. So now, what would you see? What do you see? What would you like to see your kids do in their future?
It's a scary thought, but I mean, I'd probably have to say, in their future, what I want to say is I'm going to force them to be the next Lionel Messi, my child. But I mean, I can't really do that because that's not ethically correct. But I would just, try to give them as much of a well-rounded viewpoint of so many things. I would try to make them more not really sheltered, sort of open to everything, exposed to everything. A well-rounded individual. That's what I would try to make my child. And then the more well-rounded you are, the more I think adequately you can make what decision you want to do. Because choosing what you want to do for the rest of your life is not exactly that easy.
Of course.
Questions and answers. So I mean, it's difficult, but I think I would just try to obviously there'd be bias. Like I would show my child a much better experience doing certain things because I myself enjoyed those things. So his upbringing would be centered around just how I would raise him, but I would try to expose him to many things, just sort of to, I don't want to really just be like that dad who's just like, no, you're going to do this, you're a failure, if you're not a lawyer, if you're not a doctor, you're out of the family. Like, no, forget that.
Definitely.
As long as he's happy, that's the main important thing.
Well, Matthew, I appreciate your time and I appreciate you for conducting this interview. And
hey, thanks so much. It was a great opportunity. I'm so glad that I had the time.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.